Matt Lewis, let me go to you first. Are you along with some other Republicans, going to make trouble with this new talk of death panels, or are you going to admit that it's a bit ginned up?
Well, look, here's the thing, and by the way, this issue really does not lend itself well to sound bites. I'll try to be quick, but it's a little bit nuanced, because I think that most conservatives would tell you that end-of-life counseling can be very good, that it can be very, helpful. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it if it's voluntary and between a patient and a doctor. The concern actually went back to nationalization of health care. There was a concern, and I don't think it's an absurd or ludicrous concern, that if the government controlled and paid for and nationalized health care, eventually there could be rationing of health care. And by the way, there are prominent, bioethicists like Dr. Peter Singer who've actually made the argument that said to save money, if you're 90 years old, should you get that heart transplant? That's what conservatives were worried about, is if the government controls the money, they might deny care to elderly patients. That's what this issue was about, not about these, counseling, which is legit.
Jane Hamsher, this sounds like a pretty slippery conservative slope. What do you make of what they're trying to do?
Well, I would say police your own then, because Johnny Isakson is actually the person, Republican Senator Johnny Isakson is actually the person in 2008 who was fighting for people who, when they joined Medicare, to have to execute durable power of attorney. That's all this is telling somebody what their options are at the end of life and saying to them, look, this is what this means. Isakson wanted to go a step further. So if the Republicans have a problem with that, then maybe they should tamp down on people on their own side first before they start going after the White House for it. It's an entirely practical suggestion, and the idea that it will lead to these what-ifs of death panels, I would say, is hysteria in the face of a very pragmatic and practical step.
Jonathan Alter, you probably did the most exhaustive inside account of the first year of the Obama administration. Was there any secret talk about trying to put people to death somehow in these death panels? What do you make of all this?
No, it just became a talking point for Sarah Palin first, and then for the whole Republican Party. Death panels, like death taxes, resonates, particularly with the base. But, the only politicians who've actually done this, not just Johnny Isakson, but in a much cruder way, Jan Brewer in Arizona, they actually deprived a 46-year-old man who needed a bone marrow transplant and had more than, I think, 4 or 5 children. They decided they didn't have any money in the state budget to give him a transplant, and they rationed care, and he died. So this just happened a few weeks ago. So the only place this is going on the ground right now is in Arizona, of all places. The idea of this being a political issue, something that somehow liberals should be more vulnerable on, is just another sign of how the Republicans right now want to use anything they can to club Barack Obama.